Hello and welcome to another Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Halloran. We seem to have been on a behavioral finance kick lately, and partially that's because we just love it here at ProudMouth. We love it for so many reasons, but the main reason is it changes the conversation that you have with your clients and makes it much more meaningful. But even better than that, if you do have this sort of a focus, your content marketing can fundamentally change. And we've got somebody who I love seeing you at conferences. I love hanging out with you. I love talking to you. I love reading your stuff. Dr. Preston Cherry is our guest today. Welcome to the show.
Man, thank you again. I appreciate you, Matt.
Listen, right before I hit record, which damn it, I should hit record because we were just talking about something. I want to go right there, and then we'll talk about some of the other stuff. We were talking about the books, right? So there are books out there when it comes to behavioral finance, and a lot of people don't think that as an advisor, they can buy a book by you, and your book is called Wealth and the Key of Life. And they can give that to their clients. And I think this is such a powerful marketing strategy. Would you mind talking a little bit about how an advisor could buy a bunch of your books and use those, and what would be the desired outcome of the advisor doing that?
Yeah, sure. So thanks for the platform. But yeah, I think, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, all that, so they can go there. But here's the thing with books, right? My grandfather had a famous line that he shared with me millions of times, but the first time I heard it was about 12 years old. And he told me a story about life. And then he followed it up and he says, do you understand what I'm saying, son? And I said, no, not understand what I'm saying. He said, do you understand what I'm saying? And I said, no, grandfather, not right now. And he said, don't worry, son, keep living. Right. and why does that matter to the book? It's because if that story or that lesson came from my grandfather, then I don't know how to hear it, or I'm not trying to hear it from him at the moment. Right. It's like your parent telling you something. It's like, and then somebody else down the street tells you that, and you go back home and you're like, Mom, Dad, you know what? Johnny Joe, Miss Susie, Johnny Joe told me that. And they'd be like, I just told you that. But he said, I'm glad you learned anyway, right? So what does that all have to do about a book? A good book that's written to the public, okay, that has philosophy in it, as far as connecting with yourself. We're talking about this money psychology, aligning your life and money, all of this, right? And it comes from a perspective of somebody respected and whatnot. Advisors struggle at delivering why that's important, that why. What is that value? What is the client? Why are they working with you during their life and money journey? Why is that so? And can you explain it? I'm talking about the advisor. Can they deliver that without, salesmanship? You're not trying to convince somebody. You're just trying to transfer why they're here, right? Mm-hmm. So a good book can say, you know what? If you're not going to listen to me, or if I don't have the skill set in order to really hone in on the meat on the bone, then how about you read this book right here? And a couple of these books, that you're going to be on the beach with, or, on your, maybe listening to, or on your car or something like that. And then they come back and tell you, right? They be like, Mr. Advisor, I want to align my life and money because, X, Y, and Z, such and such said, and everything. And then they were like, you know what? I was going to try to tell you that, but you wouldn't have listened from me. Just keep living. And now they're ready, right, to start the process a little bit more and to have a better understanding because they heard it from someone else.
I love that. My grandmother shared with me that, Matt, you have 2 ears and one mouth, so you listen twice as much as you talk. And she probably told me that 1,000 times, mostly because, Doc, man, I talked way too much, and she just wanted me to shut up, really, is what she was saying. But I love that. And I love the fact that, and your story is so perfect. I can't tell you how many times I would come home to my mom and say, I was over at my friend's house and they said this. And my mom was like, oh my God, I have spanked you over that, right? 20, 30 times. And so I absolutely love that. So that idea of borrowing an expert and bringing it into your practice is such a powerful thing to do to begin a difficult conversation. And one of the things that I love about what you wrote here, what you post consistently on social media, is there's so much value that advisors can use and take what you're saying and repurpose it for their audience, because it's really coming from a great place of massive levels of education and experience.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. And, I told both lines. Well, I told a couple of lines, actually. I have a professor hack to talk with students. I'm a wealth advisor myself because I have a firm, and then also a thought leader. And I appreciate folks that think of me as such. And so advisors look for me, but I don't necessarily work for or deliver content for advisors. That's not my primary audience. All right. That they happen to see it.
Mhm.
There's a difference because I'm delivering my philosophy uh, with my clients, and also too how I personally believe, what I professionally am astute at, and then how I deliver it with the folks that I serve, right? And then also the general public, man. My go it's not a go-to line. It is a personal and professional statement. Advance the human condition through financial advice and education.
Mm.
And so I truly believe that financial wellness overall is a public good, and everyone should have it. I don't too many shoulds in life, but yes, everyone should, across the social economic status, because you have financial compassion, and you have financial education, you have financial literacy, which is informed decision behaviors, and that includes rich folks and wealthy folks. They need literacy too. And then you get to wellness, which is confidence and security in your finances. So that's why it's a public good. So when I'm talking with, my the people that I serve and our team serves, then advisors are then seeing that and be like, man, that's pretty good right there. And if
Mhm.
if they're if they are doing it, fantastic. Then they get to put some polish on what they're doing. And if they're not doing it, then say, okay, there's some ideas. It's a blue ocean. It's not competition. It's collaboration. And if it works out where a rising tide lifts all boats, and it helps the public good of financial wellness, helping people overall work with a financial advisor and improve how they feel about their life and money, then it's all good.
Yeah. Well, amen to that, man. I wholeheartedly agree. And the numbers are astronomical. There are more people out there that need your advice as a CFP than are ever going to hire any of the CFPs that are out there, or financial advisors. Well, okay, so let's talk a little bit about the book. Where did the title come from? How are you using this within your own practice? And how are you using the content here to beget more content? We talk about the atomic content method here all the time, how you create a piece of long form content and then chop it up into a whole bunch of other pieces. Let's break those things down.
Okay, so when I started writing the book, I actually started writing this book in, what is this? This is 2024, so 2016, and it's actually a part of the
Oh,
story of the book, Wealth in the Key of Life, which I'm very much inspired by an album called Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. It's right above my head right here. And and the first song of the album is Love is in Need of Love Today. I'm very much a humanist.
mm,
I've written poetry for 30 years, 35 years now, all of my life. And music is a big part of my life. I have a vinyl record collection, all of this. So, and I think music is very much universal, like math. You have music notes, and then you have numbers, and you have language. So all of those are, and then you have emotion. Okay, you have experience, you have human emotion, human experiences, folks. That is the connective element, kind of like Earth, Wind, and Fire ish, right? Is those are the connective elements of you laugh right there because you know about Earth, Wind, and Fire, and those are the connective elements of humanity. And then when you transfer that into the humanity of money, which I coined the term, is in a book, then now we can have an open dialogue about relationship with money. So uh, that really started. That's the root of the title and the conversation of the book. And then I started writing the book conceptually in 2016 when I had a life transformation experience. I had a lot of them, but with the book talks a lot about transforming, the willingness to change, the want to, for his aspirations and abundance. And when I started the firm, Concurrent, I actually wrote down all of the life money balance, which is now a registered trademark term. I wrote the concepts of all of this down in a 6-month period. So I started this new journey of mine back in 2016. It was very intentional, Matt. So what I did is when I was fortunate enough and blessed enough, as faith has you, as you find it, is like I like to say, faith as you find it. I was fortunate, blessed enough to receive a large publishing deal, and I just put all of this information that I've been writing and saying and doing and delivering to clients and all that for about so it's 2016 to 2023. That's 7 years. And so that humanness of money and just that, not just the humanness aspect of myself, the poetry and all of this stuff, coupled with this transformative experience that I had in 2016, along with launching the company in 2018, it just came together. And I was like, you know what? If I went through this, I know somebody else has gone through this. This is the way to practice. This is how to serve. This is how to experience. Couple that, feelings and finances allow you to flourish. Then place it in a book, because it circles back, Mac, to the line that I was talking about, which is advancing the human condition through financial advice and education. That's what the book does at a large scale.
How long? So after the 7 years, how long did it actually take for you to get it to where it is now?
Well, that's where all the mentor, or I guess mentorship or guidance, or partners or whatever, coaches and whatever you want to call it, right? Even the publishers, they were like, "Man, you got 6 months." Right. Wow. And I had a couple of extended deadlines in there because my wife and I had a child. He's 6 months now. His name is Lath. Bless your heart in a good way, because in the South they can go 2 different ways.
It sure can. That's right. Yeah.
And they're actually calling our baby Precious, which is in a good way, which is precious, meaning, oh, he looks well, he's healthy and everything like that. So if you say, no, actually it's adorable, because precious could mean that you have an ugly child. So it actually is adorable. But the reason why I say that is because there's been extended deadlines in there. So it took 6 months. And also it was a therapeutic process for me, Matt, because it allowed me to refine some thoughts and also just go through, I say gratitude again, because it allowed me to relive some of the journey and get it to a point to where it took me out of it, except for the first chapter, because I wanted to implore some stories in it. But how is what I went through or going through or deliver or a philosophy as far as education, all this other stuff. All right, how do I transfer that to someone else's life? And that was the exercise. So it was a little bit of gratitude by going through the process, but it was also very incumbent of making sure someone sees themselves in the book and say, you know what, this is my life and money. This is how I want to go about it. I want to align my life and money in a way so I can give my life assignments and do all these philosophies that are in the book in just a plain speak manner, and for people to see themselves and say, man, I want to do that too.
You said something there. I wasn't really intending on chasing this rabbit because I hadn't heard you say that before. But I love the idea of going through the process made you refine your language and your thoughts around these concepts that have been closely held concepts for you for quite a while. We talk about that a lot you have a podcast, right? And I know that when you're podcasting, you'll say something and be like, damn, I really like how I just said that. I'm really glad I recorded that. And it's the same sort of thing. Anytime that you're doing that period of reflection, you're practicing, whether that's writing a book, whether that's creating content, that's really, really powerful. What out of the book right now have you seen has gotten the most traction for you when it comes to conceptually, where when you post something about it, people are like, aha, I really like where Doc's going with that.
Yeah. Well, it some of a lot of the book is a book of permissions. All right.
Ooh.
A book of permissions, which is giving folks, helping folks give themselves permission to have better relationship with money
Mm.
in their life without justification. Shaking some money stigmas that we all are conditioned with. And I want advisors to do the same, is to debias oneself. All right. And that way folks can organically and objectively explore their relationships with their pathways with money. Is one thing that I call an honest self audit, which is admit how you feel about your life and money at the point, acknowledge how you feel about it so you can process, and then now you can take some action that you're inspired to take, and then it's followed by some as aspirational steps, align your money, aspire, and achieve. And the reason why I say all that is because some of the concepts get hoorays, and then they're like, ooh, did he say that out loud? Right.
Yeah.
And a couple of them, right, is a relationship with spending and frugality, and the misconception. I call it the miseducation of frugality. And many folks, and I know some folks have touched on this, but they haven't stressed it as hard, which is frugality is not, you don't have to live way below, but you don't have to have a modifier. You don't have to live below your means. You have to live within. And there's a difference. And then you don't have to put a should on it either, far as folks. Folks was like, well, if you want to be successful with your money, then you should do this. But what the hell do you know about this other person's finances? And does that automatically give that person some sort of illiteracy label, as far as financial illiteracy label? Or maybe they have some sort of personal maladaptive behavior. And yes, if you're having, what do you call unintentional spending, so emotional spending and all this, and yes, all right, aimless, all that, then of course that's gonna hurt you in the long run. If you have more outflow than you have inflow, obviously that's gonna hurt. That said, there's a lot of information that says, well, folks, that even in retirement, they do something of it. I'm gonna say something just a little bit ahead. My dad says you need to unask that, which is, are you separate? Are you allowing yourself to spend your money that you've earned during retirement? And some folks have these thoughts or experiences or value systems that say they're either boundaries, barriers, or boosters, and they say, well, this is the well-being that I aspire to have, but I don't want to do it. And that comes from way at the beginning, either through childhood or even right now in what I call lifestyle vitality years, when those folks are Gen Xers, when you're in your 40s and whatnot. So why don't we start having permissions to have better relationships with our intentional spending? All right. Having a purpose, a plan, your preferences, your points of life, your life stage, placing that all in a plan, right? And be comfortable with spending without having to justify to folks, oh, I spent $20,000 on a vacation. Oh, I have a $2,000 suit. Oh, I have a $80,000 truck. Oh, I have whatever I went skiing or camping and I spent this much amount, whatever the experience, value, or material item it is. Then you say, well, last year we saved 25%. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Right? And so it's one of the concepts is a book of permissions and having a better relationship with spending across the life cycle. I call that, there's a speech I have, is called spending shame to spending success. And it is touched on in the book.
Doc, that's one of the things that I hear from advisors all the time. We do a pretty substantial amount of episodes here for financial advisors. And I can't tell you that 1 out of every 4 episodes that we produce is talking about giving yourself permission to live the life you've worked so hard to live in retirement, man. I think that's great. But you said something else that I want to just hit the rewind button here for a minute. because I don't want this to not sink into the audience, which is advisors need to get right with their own hangups surrounding money. And you and I have talked about this before. We were sitting on a couch in Las Vegas, by the way, and we both had a drink in our hand, and you didn't know that I was a therapist in a past life, and so we were talking about that very quickly. And one of the things in graduate school that our teachers, all of our professors, were very adamant about was we had to know what our own issues were so that we didn't transfer those issues to our clients, because that happens all the time. Freud talked about that with transference, and then it's been really looked at much, much deeper. But that's what you're saying here. I don't know how many advisors have done that. You called it something.
Sandra Davis is good at this as well. She's one of the pioneers. So shout out to Miss Sandra Davis, which is, and also Rick Haler. But to doing the therapy of the self, and it goes back to one of my the honest self audit of oneself.
There it is. Thank you for that. Yep.
Yeah, I call it the EHSA because of the HSA. Because I share with people all the time. The HSA is one of those small moments where the IRS lost their mind and gave us a triple tax advantage, account. They were like, I don't know what they were smoking that day, but I'm like, use that because they know they don't do that, right? And so the EHSA is the emotional HSA, which is the honest self audit, because the mirror in of itself can be an effective audit, a great audit, or an expensive tax.
Ooh.
If you're not in that mirror with a healthy mindset. All right. And the reason why that is, when we're talking about the EHSA, is going through the process of having that courage to admit, and this is on the consumer side, the individual side, and on the advisor side. All right. To work your therapy through the self and admit where you are, and then acknowledge how you feel about it, so you can process and identify some areas, and then you can take action to go to the next steps, right? And if the advisors haven't done this, and also they're participating in groupthink, all right? When they participate in groupthink, the social capital of that is that, well, so many other folks have talked about, this version of frugality, all right, which, and in the shaming and the shoulding, right? Then it's incumbent on me that I just agree with that, and pass that along to, now that may be a value of yours, and that's fine. If it's a preference or, a value system, that's okay as well. But don't transfer, that value system, all right, by default to others, when their preferences and their points of life, their life stage is very important, and their purpose. And these are the 5 P's that go into prosperity. If those are different, then an advisor must remain objective. And then also the individual must have a self permission to allow themselves, to live the life that they aspire to have. And as long as they are satisfying their plan, then they're good to go. And also, too, the advisor, listen, de-bias oneself, take a shower. Because you're funky a little bit.
Oh man. Well, and again, I'm not trying to always bring this back to content creation, but I just love if you're not following Dr. Preston Cherry on everything, you're really missing out on a lot. One of the things that I absolutely love is when advisors are vulnerable, and how wonderful of a piece of content, a presentation, a seminar, a webinar, a podcast, a video series, talking about how you have deconstructed your money issues and how unbelievably approachable that makes you with your clients. That's why at the beginning of the show, when you talked about, this is a really great book for an advisor to read for their own, HSA, EHSA, and then also really great to share and maybe do a book club. How wonderful would that be for advisors to sit down with this book and say, hey, we're going to go through this together. that's real marketing. We'll talk about viral marketing and real deep connection with existing clients or prospects or heirs or whatever. Man, that can be super, super powerful.
Yeah, it is. And also too, being real with your own stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? And meaning, this is actually, eating your own cooking, so to speak. Listen, I tell people all the time, Matt, you hear this little crinkling back here. I'm doing that intentionally. I've done my audit. Here it is right here. I've done it several times, and I
Mm-hmm.
keep it right by my desk as a gratitude. And I don't, it's not something to be a braggadocious about, but one of the top of the lines, it says, forgive yourself, do better, onward and upward.
Oh.
And it's, then it goes and says, hello, Preston, blah, blah, should you need any proof, so on and so forth. And then there's statements in there. And then one of my go-to lines in the book is, there's stories in your financial statements, and your stories, and your stories help you, achieve what you need to achieve, while you're auditing your stories. So there's stories and statements, and your statements inform your strategies,
Hmm.
right? There's stories and statements, and your statements help you, and your stories help you inform your strategies. And this is not only for individuals for an audit to go through. All right. This is for advisors to have a process to help folks go. Feelings is a line item in your statements, Matt. They're a line item. And how you feel about money, preferences, purposes, all of these aspects about money, they have a value. They have a dollar amount. They have a dollar amount. And one of another concepts within the book is that wealth and well-being are two different things. I know folks like to conjure up these and be like, oh, I have a wealth of time, I have a wealth of this. Not no, wealth is dollars. All right. I know it's ample amount or an abundance of. I get that. All right. But when you go, and that's way back in the Latin times or whatever, because you go to the Latin root. Yeah, it's an abundance of. Yes. All right. But wealth is dollars. Well-being is domain.
Mm.
You use your wealth to fund your dollars, right? And one of the kickoff phrases of the book is like, money is not just a tool. I know like folks like say that. So this is what I'm talking about with the book, and people like, did he say that out loud? And he's like, because money, everybody says money is a tool,
Yep.
right? But it's not just a tool, because it downplays the essentialness, the soulfulness of money plays in our life. So I like to say money is just not a tool. It is a partner with a soul that is an essential part of our lives. And what that allows is it opens up the essentialness of money, and not for us to discount it, as though we're not supposed to earn an abundance of, or that, or the like of. There's no issue with having an abundant mindset. Uh, it's your priority and your pathway towards. All right. And we are due prosperity and abundance. And if it's another way of giving, it's a book of permissions. This is about relationships with money, and these relationships and parallels, so almost parables, so to speak. They go straight into the line items of your finance. So when I say stories in your statements, and your statements help your strategy, inform your strategies, it has a dollar amount tied to it. So when folks say, "Oh, I don't want to do all that mushy stuff," all right, but nope, you got to have. It's like peanut butter and jelly. You got to have one and the other.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And with that, I just realized I didn't eat enough lunch, and I need to go have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But I love that, because I think a lot of advisors do push that away and don't realize that that's actually where the relationship lies. That's going to make you more referable, more engaging, more trusted, more liked, and more respected. All right. Well, here's the deal. Where can people go get the book? We're going to put the links, but I just want you to say it out loud.
Yes, I know. I appreciate it. So they can go to Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, to go on those three platforms and purchase the book. I'm redoing my personal website right now, drprestoncherry.com. By next week, it'll be up. But right now, if you want to go as pre-order, it comes out December 24th. It's a great gift. You can bulk order the book for, if advisors want to give it out to your clients, family, friends, all of that. But go on right now. There'll be a Kindle version out shortly and an audiobook out later. And you can follow me on all the socials, Dr. Preston Cherry.
Yeah, please make sure that you're following it. You're one of the people who I have tagged on Twitter X, because I just love your content. And I just also like you as a human being, and I'm really truly impressed with everything that you've done. Lots of stuff from the show, so I'm just going to unpack just a couple of things here. Number one, any sort of long form content that you have, a book, a blog, a seminar, a podcast, can be turned into more content. And you guys are going to see this all in 2025. Most of what Doc's going to be talking about is the stuff that's in the book, not just how the book itself, but how he's applying it in his practice, in his daily life, in his speeches, which is the second thing. One of the greatest things about being a Renaissance man, which you are truly, a poet, an author, a business person, and a speaker, right? I want everybody to think about that. Just sit with yourself for a moment and realize what you know is so unbelievably valuable that you can express yourself in lots of different ways. And I believe that the more ways you can express yourself, the more opportunities you're going to have. You're truly going to be able to live your own life of abundance, which of course we know with an abundant mindset, more abundance comes to you. And last but not least, if you're looking for an amazing speaker for your conference, for a group, if you're in a Vistage group, or, if you've got a local FPA, NAFA chapter, listen, reach out to Doc. He's an unbelievable speaker. And because I've seen him speak a bunch of times, because we are at a lot of conferences together, but please make sure that you book him for your conferences in 25 and for years to come. All right, Doc, I want to appreciate you for coming on the show, and for everybody here at ProudMouth and Dr. Preston Cherry. We'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.